The knock came just after midnight, heavy and uncertain, the kind that carries more fear than sound. I remember standing in my small living room in Columbus, Ohio, staring at the door as if it might explain itself before I opened it. My phone had been silent all evening, and yet something in my chest already knew who was on the other side. When I pulled the door open, the cold winter air rushed in first, followed by the familiar face of the one person I never imagined would show up broken at my doorstep. My best friend was standing there with a single backpack, eyes red, shoulders slumped, and a question hanging between us that would change everything. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of being there for someone when the world turns its back on them, take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this matter, and your support helps keep them alive. We had grown up together on the same street, two boys riding bikes until the sun disappeared, dreaming bigger than our neighborhood allowed. His name was Matthew, and to everyone else he was the strong one, the confident one who always knew what to say. I was the quieter shadow, steady but unsure, following his lead through high school hallways and into adulthood. Even after life scattered us into different paths, the bond never really loosened. Or so I thought. Somewhere between promotions, relationships, and responsibilities, we stopped seeing the cracks forming beneath his smile. That night, he didn't need to say much. His presence told the story in pieces, the way his hands shook as he set the backpack down, the way he avoided looking at the framed photos on my wall, reminders of a life still standing. I let him in, closed the door, and offered him the couch without hesitation. But inside, questions swirled. The man who once had everything together was now here, asking for a place to stay, carrying nothing but exhaustion and shame. The days that followed revealed more than he ever intended to share. Matthew had lost his job after months of pretending everything was fine. The company downsized, and he was the first to go, replaced by someone younger and cheaper. Pride kept him silent as bills piled up. His marriage, already fragile, collapsed under the weight of secrets and stress. When he finally admitted the truth, there was nothing left to save. The house went to lawyers, friends chose sides, and suddenly he found himself alone, sleeping in his car until he couldn't anymore. Living together felt strange at first. My apartment was small, my routine simple, and his presence filled the space with an uneasy energy. He barely slept, pacing the floor at night, replaying every mistake he believed had led him here. I struggled too, not with resentment, but with fear. I worried about how long this would last, whether I was equipped to help him, and what it would cost us both. Some nights I lay awake wondering if opening that door had been the right choice, even as guilt followed the thought immediately. What hurt the most was watching someone I loved lose faith in himself. Matthew stopped applying for jobs after a few rejections. He avoided phone calls, convinced they were reminders of his failure. Simple things like cooking dinner together became heavy with silence. I wanted to fix everything, but I was learning the hard truth that you cannot rescue someone from a storm they refuse to believe they can survive. Change came slowly, almost invisibly. One morning after weeks of rain, the sun broke through the clouds as we sat on the balcony overlooking the quiet street. Something about the light softened him. He started talking, not about solutions, but about fear, about feeling like his worth had been measured only by success, about believing he had disappointed everyone, including me. For the first time, I didn't rush to reassure him. I just listened, and in that space, something shifted. He began helping around the apartment, small steps at first. He updated his resume, not because he believed in it, but because it gave structure to the day. We went for long walks in the evenings, talking about everything except the future, learning to breathe again in the present. I shared my own struggles, the ones I had hidden for years, and in doing so, we met each other on equal ground instead of pretending one of us was stronger. Weeks turned into months. Matthew landed a temporary job at a local hardware store. Nothing glamorous but honest work. He came home tired but lighter, carrying stories instead of shame. I saw him smile again, not the old confident grin, but something quieter and more real. The man sleeping on my couch was no longer hiding, he was healing. Still, the journey wasn't clean or simple. There were setbacks, days when old doubts returned, when rejection emails reopened wounds. There were arguments too. Moments when frustration bubbled over and we both questioned whether this arrangement was sustainable. But every time, we chose to stay, to talk, to remember why we mattered to each other in the first place. One evening near the end of summer, as cicadas hummed outside and the air smelled of warm pavement, Matthew told me he had been approved for a small apartment across town. His voice shook as he shared the news, excitement mixed with fear. I felt a surprising ache in my chest, realizing how much our shared struggle had changed me too. Letting him go meant trusting that the work he had done, the strength he had rebuilt, was enough. The night before he moved out, we sat in the living room surrounded by boxes, the same space where everything had begun. I looked at the couch that had carried his weight, his tears, his restless nights, and I understood something deeply human. Sometimes love doesn't look like grand gestures or perfect words. Sometimes it looks like opening a door at midnight and saying yes when it would be easier to say no. Before this story ends, I want to ask you something special. Please comment the word hope if you believe that even the most broken moments can lead to something beautiful. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. On the day Matthew left, the apartment felt quieter, but not empty. There was a sense of completion, of having walked through fire together and emerged changed. We hugged longer than usual. Two men who had learned that strength is not about standing alone, but about leaning on each other when standing becomes impossible. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of someone you once helped or someone who helped you when you had nowhere else to go, please take a moment now to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement keeps these stories alive and reminds others that they are not alone. That night, I sat by the same door that had opened to fear months earlier. I realized that sometimes the bravest question a person can ask is whether they are allowed to stay, and the bravest answer is simply letting them in.